Hi, friends. Smash that subscribe button. Ooh, that's a lot of energy coming off the start. I got to slow down. I probably broke my mic. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
You can find us Ray Benny Sports. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok. And don't forget, check us out on Reddit. Join the conversation there and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider, please.
Yeah, now that I've woken you up, let's talk about CFL Week 6. We're going to look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What boxes do they have to check to get out of Ottawa with a win? We're going to look at the critical questions for each team going into Week 6. And we got our quick and dirty predictions. And we're going to add on some hot topics at the end. So let's get into it. Winnipeg Blue Bombers going into Ottawa. Heavy favorites in this one. What do they got to do to get to win? What do they got to avoid to do to lose? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think they got to watch out for is the run game, because Ottawa's passing game will probably be a work in progress. But we watched Dustin Crum last week run it up a bit against Hamilton, had some good yardage, just under 100 yards. But this week, if they want to have a chance, they also have to get Tuggle involved and get that run game from where they had a couple weeks ago. And we know the Bombers have struggled a bit against the run. Dietrich Mills showed it a bit, last week. But the Bombers shut that down in the second half. So it'll be a good test to see if that Bomber D can stand up to the scrambling of Dustin Crum and Tuggle.
Yeah, and I think they can't come out of the gate slow. That's something that they've been doing the past couple games. I understand the weather was a bit weird in Montreal, but still, especially with the offense, it seems that they're coming out of the gate slow. And yes, whatever, the cream usually rises to the top, but you can't keep doing that. I know Ottawa's not that prime right now, but you keep letting teams stick around, and especially teams that aren't supposed to stick around with you, that's going to bite you in the ass one game. I don't think it'll be this game. I think Ottawa's they're too far. We'll get into that with the predictions, but yeah, they can't come out of the gate slow. And with that, I think the Bombers got to establish the running game. Like, I don't think they can wait till the third quarter to play that extra lineman tight end. Like, start that from the beginning. That works. Dominate Ottawa with it. Take their soul, like I like to say, and then from there, that'll open up the pass. And we've seen them pass out of that formation as well. So I think they should use that from the start.
Yeah, quick start. That was one on my list as well. And get Greg McRae involved early,
Yes.
as he's been on a tear for the last couple of games. So keep riding him right now. He's the hot hand, and see what he can do early on in that game. And like you say, if Fajardo doesn't throw an interception, if BA doesn't read Fajardo at the goal line, Montreal scores and ties that game. And who knows after that? Them allowing these teams to stick into the game, it does get concerning. And it does get scary close to the end. Yes, they pull away, but you're like, good teams, BC, Toronto will make them pay for it. They can get away with it against these teams. So.
And you can't sleep on the Ottawa defense in regards to the running game. They're only averaging they're allowing 3.9 yards a carry. That is a crazy good rush defense. So they can't sleep on them. And talking about Ottawa's D-line, that Bomber O-line, like I said, they have to protect Zach Collaros as well. Every time he gets hit, it worries me. And he got hit a couple times last game. I'm like, please get up. Please don't put your hands on your head or anything, because they got to protect that guy. Those concussion concerns will always be there, at least for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is. Collaros with the concussions, the injury history and all that. You don't want him getting big hits. And Calgary took it to that Bomber O-line early in that game. Yeah. So if this D-line from Ottawa can get it going, they might be able to cause some issues. For me, another spot is special teams. Jamison Sheehan. Sheehan? Yeah. I don't know if you're saying that right, but he started the season off great. 50-yard average in that first game and has slowly gone down. Last game, 43.8 yard average. Probably, it was his worst kicking of the season so far in a game. So we need to see something better from him. They need to be able to pin the other team, in this case Ottawa, deep in their own end and make them go long field. No more starting at the 40.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned the defense and the D-line and the Bombers against the run. I just want to emphasize that D-line really has to show up against the run, because that last game, Mills was getting past the D-line untouched to the second level. And they can't let Ottawa get that running, because if Ottawa gets that running game going, that'll lead to things opening up for the quarterback and the quarterback being able to run. And they don't want to deal with that nonsense with an underdog.
No, and Ottawa needs the run game to have a chance in this game. So
absolutely,
the Bombers really need to focus on that, and that includes Crum, because the way he was running last week, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got a little bit more tape on him that they can watch him a little bit. Jeffcoat has been limited in practice so far for the last 2 days, so that's a bit concerning, considering his injury history. So hopefully he's okay. Bombers will have a few guys come back probably next week that were on the 6th game, not this week. But so that's looking good. But hopefully Jeffcoat's okay because he's been a big help in the last few weeks.
And also, can they score touchdowns? Just, getting these field goals when they're inside the 10, inside the 5, they got to put teams away.
Yeah.
You got to find a way. There's a 20-yard end zone. Use it. And you have these great receivers. I'm not saying they don't, and I'm not saying to complain because it's a great offense. But, again, at the beginning of the game and when you have these opportunities in the red zone, deep in the red zone, you got to cap them off with touchdowns and not field goals.
Yeah, it's funny. Remember last year with Greg Ellingson, the few games that he played, he was a big factor inside that 20 and at the goal line, right? He would just get inside, turn around, and his big body, he'd catch those balls. They need someone to do that in a way, right? To have that. And maybe that's where Kenny Lawler would have came into play a bit better, and hopefully he's back soon. But, that's part of this offense that they're missing.
Same as Agudosi, though. He's coming back this week too.
So maybe use him for that. There. Exactly, yeah.
Yeesh, I can't wait. Any other points, that boxes or whatever that need to be checked going into Ottawa?
Just again, back to special teams and who is going to replace Janarian Grant. They had a bunch of guys practicing at it this week. McRae, Dembski. I think Houston was also fielding some punts and kicks. So it's probably Greg McRae, but he has to be himself, not try to be Janarian Grant and try to overdo or try to make something happen where there's nothing there, right? So just be himself. He had a great run last week. So hopefully he can be that dual threat on special teams and on offense.
You imagine Nick Dembski. They got to get Nick Dembski going.
Yeah.
Putting him in the sweeps, putting him in motion, because when he gets going, the defense really can't tell what the Bombers are doing because they're worried about where Dembski is. Is he going to get the handoff here? Is he going to go deep on this route? So they really got to get Dembski going. And I understand he was out of practice, maybe didn't get the reps, didn't get part of the game plan as much as he usually is. But this game, they really got to reestablish Nick Dembski, I think. I hope.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Bomber fans, what do you think the Bombers need to do to get out of Ottawa with a win? Ottawa fans, what do you think Ottawa needs to do to get a win at home? A place that hasn't been too friendly lately, other than when you play Edmonton.
Hey, a win's a win.
Hey, I'm not laughing. It's true. Congrats. Critical questions for each team going into week 6. We're going to go from east to west. You want to go first with East?
I might as well go West first because there's more teams there, right?
I guess so. I guess we're doing the math. Can BC continue to grow their crowds? They have a week off, so you might get a week off of that momentum, a week off in the press, not as much attention. So hopefully they'll be able to garner a big crowd because they have a game coming up July 22nd against the Rough Riders. So hopefully with some Rough Rider fans coming into town, Rough Rider fans going to check out the game because they are nomadic. Because I was going to say
all over.
Who doesn't want to leave Saskatchewan? Well, I guess I did say it, but it's all in jest, Saskatchewan. We joke, we kid. But yeah, can they keep that momentum and keep the crowds going? Because we laugh sometimes 20,000. That's not a lot compared to what we get in Winnipeg, but compared to what they had the second game last year at home, I think it was a 43% increase in crowd size. So they got to keep that momentum going, and the team is playing well. And my second small question is, when Mizil comes back, who's going to be? What are they going to? That backfield is crazy.
Yeah.
Are they more talented than Toronto's backfield? Wow, that Sean Shivers.
Yeah, they can. Wow, you compare or you add that to the receivers that they have there too, right? That offense can go anywhere at this point. You got a 2-headed backfield. You got some really good receivers, and Lucky Whitehead's missed a lot of this season too. So if you can get him healthy enough too,
that offense is a lot of speed.
Yeah, and the defense is playing well too. So. As a Bomber fan, they're probably the team to beat right now. They're clicking.
No.
They're clicking.
Without overlooking
a team to beat in the West. I mean, Toronto's still that team right now. So
yeah, they are that team.
Yeah. I'm going to go Hamilton. Ugly win last week, but can they build off of that? They ended up kicking 5 field goals last week. 4 of them were inside the 30. So they got to find a way to finish those off if they want to have more success. They get the Elks this week, the Elks at home. So there's probably a pretty good chance they can continue it on. But we'll see. Hamilton's, they got something to build off of. We'll see if they can do it.
Well, then let's talk about Edmonton. Hamilton. Well, I'll talk about Hamilton in a sec too. Is this the week Edmonton breaks the home streak? I think it is. I think everything's lining up for the Elks right now at this moment. So they're playing, they have a horrible offense, but they're playing another horrible offense. They have a decent defense. Cornelius did take a step forward at the beginning of the game, so maybe he can play a full game. Who knows? Or 3/4 of the game. That might be enough to beat Hamilton. So yeah, it might be like an NHL All-Star hockey score, but yeah, I think they can break that home streak this week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully for Elk fans, they finally can.
Please.
Toronto, who play Montreal, can they remain undefeated for another week? The way Montreal has been playing lately, especially the D got roasted, which the D was the strongest suit against the Bombers the week before. The D kind of got roasted by BC last week. So I can definitely see the Argos go 4-0 here. And the way their schedule is kind of shaping up, I don't think they'll lose for a bit unless they lose themselves kind of the game. So I think it's another good week for Toronto. That running attack is going to be all over Montreal.
Man, these quick and dirty predictions are going to be quicker and dirtier. Will Jake Meyer play the whole game? I don't think so. He hasn't shown much in regards to resilience and coming back with a big game after he's had a bad game. I think pulling him last game was silly. Like, I get it. He couldn't get anything going, but you got to stick with your starter unless the team is totally out.
Yeah.
You got to give him that chance to redeem himself. And they didn't. So I think that's going to mess with his head as well. And I don't care what the coach says. When you take your number one out like that in a time like that, that speaks volumes. And
yeah.
They have an O-line that's a work in progress. Yeah. Well, they released Dennis. That's a shame.
Yeah. I mean, you were only down 2 scores last week and you benched him. I know he wasn't playing well, but you're only down 2 scores. And in the CFL, 2 scores is not much, you know, especially if you have 2 minutes left on that clock. So.
And in the preseason, we mentioned that Calgary would have a culture shift when they lose experienced players like Dennis. And we're seeing it in front of our face.
Yeah. And I think we had fans were saying, hey, Calgary's doing it right. They're getting rid of their older guys, whereas the Bombers are keeping their older guys. It's a bad thing. Right now we're seeing getting rid of too many older guys loses that culture a bit in Calgary.
Absolutely.
For Montreal, can the O-line, I'll include a lot of people here, can the O-line, can Fajardo, can Jason Moss, can they figure out some protection for their QB? So this guy can survive another game, season. He's on pace for like 99 sacks or something like that, or over 90 sacks. Like, that's ridiculous at this point. And I know it's not just the O-line. I know it's Fajardo too. And I know it's Jason Moss. They were together last year in Saskatchewan, and he was getting sacked like crazy. So against Toronto, I don't think it's going to be any different. I think they're still going to give up a lot of sacks. So hopefully they can figure it out at some point and keep Fajardo straight.
It's crazy. Like, it's embarrassing, that offensive line, the way that, oh my goodness. My question is, going to Saskatchewan Roughriders, what is Craig Dickinson talking about? He was asked about the possible of Mitch Picton, the Canadian receiver, being a starter. And his quote is, he's a good enough player to start in this league, but the fact that he's so versatile and he knows every position, we feel that he has additional value backing up in multiple spots. What is wrong with this person? You have a Canadian wide receiver who could be a ratio breaker, and maybe you can put more talent on the D line, or where you have only like 6. Speaking of sacks, they only have 6 sacks this year. Is that right?
Yeah, they didn't get any last week.
Yeah. Like, how can that makes no sense? And it says a lot about coaching when you have a valuable Canadian and you don't want to use him as a starter because you think he's valuable as a backup. Sorry, Saskatchewan, but what is he talking about?
That's pretty interesting. He's Canadian. If he was an American, yeah, okay, I could see him maybe having to move around in backup positions, but it's Canadian, man. Take advantage of that. Wow. Yeah. Ottawa, tough week to be facing that Bomber D that seems to have come alive in the last couple of weeks. They've only given up 14 points in the last 2 weeks. For me, can Dustin Crum find some success against his Bomber D? He might find it on the ground. I don't think he'll find it in the air, especially with the ball, like Demario Houston, Dietrich Nichols, Brandon Alexander. Those guys have had some pretty good season. Evan Holm too. Shawry as well, even coming in, first playing games, he has played well the last few weeks as well. And
Great
I hear
athlete.
he was crazy in practice apparently this week, knocking down some balls and showing off that success kind of on the field. So he's feeling it. So tough week for Dustin Crum.
Oh, poor Ottawa. I'm not just as a Bomber fan. Like it's not looking good. Questions for the Bombers. We already kind of talked about this. Who is going to kick return kicks for same thing for the Bombers? Janarian Grant might be out for multiple weeks. Who knows? We'll see. But one thing I do not want to see is DeMarrell Houston return.
Yeah.
He's 3 picks, 3 fumbles in 5 games. I don't want to see him risk injury. We've already seen what the secondary is out without him. They can only be better with him. So I don't think he's worth the risk putting him back there to injury or whatever. So I do not want to see DeMarrell Houston there. So my other question for the Bombers, I'll sneak one in quickly, is what will this defense look like with the return of Winston Rose and Jamal Parker and Kyrie Wilson? Like, they mentioned in the preseason that it's not about the best players, but the best unit. And with all this talent, you'd imagine that they can play pretty much until Labor Day to figure out what the best unit is, and they'll still be competitive. So sorry, I got an extra question in there for the Bombers, but wow, that defense.
Well, because Malik Clemens came in for Kyrie Wilson, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. And he's having a wicked start to the season. So
Kyrie Wilson playing the secondary, that's not bad.
Yeah, it'll be good. Hey, good problem to have, man. Good problem to have.
Fans, what do you think about our critical questions? Be nice. Let's go to the quick and dirty predictions, right?
Yep.
See, I forgot about the math, East and West. Quick and dirty predictions. Let's start off with a Thursday game. Thursday game, please. Why are these games starting so late? You want to draw viewers from Toronto and Quebec, and you're starting the game at 9 their time? Any which way, that's not a prediction. I'm going to take Edmonton to win, like I said earlier. Hamilton can't score. They allow QBs to be efficient. Edmonton will win at home.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you on this one. I have Edmonton as well, getting their first win in forever at home, breaking that 19-game losing streak. Hamilton last week kicked 5 field goals. They're coming off a shorter week than Edmonton, plus you're traveling as well. So
yeah,
hopefully Edmonton don't lose, because that would tie a 20-game record with the St. Louis Browns of Major League Baseball for most losses in a row at home. So 1953.
And that's baseball where there's lots more games.
Yeah.
Who do you got in the Argos and Alouettes?
I'm going to have to take the Argos in this one. I think it'll be a pretty easy win for the Argos, the way they've been playing, the way the Owls have played the last couple of weeks. Coming off a bye week, Montreal again just played Sunday, so a bit of a shorter week for them as well.
Yeah.
And that D for Toronto, one of the things Montreal has to do to win this game is get that run game going. They need to help Fajardo. But
absolutely,
against Toronto, who's only given up less than 60 yards rushing allowed per game and under 3.6 per carry, that's going to be tough. So unfortunately, I think it's going to have to rely on Fajardo having to do something, but that Toronto D will be too tough. So I'm picking Toronto.
Yeah, if you have to rely on Fajardo to do something, chances are it's not going to end up well. I'm going to take the Argos here as well. The Toronto rushing game, they're coming off a bye, like you mentioned. Alouettes coming off a shorter week, but I can see Fajardo putting up some big numbers. Toronto still allowed a lot of passing yards. Julian Grant and Mac will probably have some big numbers. Fantasy heaven there. And also they'll be from behind, so they'll keep throwing the ball, but they won't beat a better rested Argo team. Winnipeg and Ottawa. Winnipeg is too much for this young QB. I think the Bombers will bully. I hope the Bombers will bully Ottawa all over the field to begin the game and just totally start, like they played last game. Just start running away with the game a bit later on. So I'll take the Bombers to beat the Redblacks.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree there too as well. And I think the Bombers, they should put this game away early, like you're saying, and kind of coast throughout the game, and not have to, win it in the fourth quarter or anything like that. Having said that, you never know what to expect out of this Bomber team. But I think this is the one time against this Ottawa team that's reeling that they should be able to do that.
Yeah, careful. Don't
you never know.
Careful. Tyrell Pigrew might have some secrets that he might talk about in the dressing room. Stampeders, Rough Riders, who do you got in this game?
I'm going to take the Stampeders. Just from watching them from last week, I didn't like the way Saskatchewan played. I know the stats look great, on offense, a lot of yardage and all that stuff, but only being able to score 12 points against the Elks at home, finally breaking that 7-game losing streak. But Calgary needs to rely on that run a little bit more, not rely on Jake Maier. And if the run is going good, stick with that run and put it down Saskatchewan's throat. It's going to be a close game for sure in this one. And Saskatchewan is at home. Joe Morrow in week 3 ran all over Calgary. But Calgary's D was good last week against the Bombers until that fourth quarter, basically. So I'm picking Calgary.
Rough Riders still dealing with injuries. I still think they'll get steadier and better QB play from Trevor Harris. Calgary's still trying to find their identity. So I'm going to take the home team, Rough Riders at home. Friends, CFL fans, put your predictions in the comments down low. Leave a like, leave a comment. Hot topics. Is the lack of quality QBs in the CFL worrisome? Go ahead.
Yes, big time. I mean, did we talk about this on the last episode or just off the air kind of thing where we were trying to name teams that actually had decent quality quarterbacks? And what did we come up with? Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, NBC, and it's kind of there, but it's not great. And then in the East is Kelly, really, right?
Yeah.
And that's it, 4 teams. So it is very concerning. And I know some teams, you need time to let a QB grow and build that resume in the league. But for some teams, it's tough. Like Ottawa hasn't won in a while. So now you're relying on a 4th-stringer. Montreal needs to get wins going to keep those fans kind of showing up all the time too. So it's tough. And Edmonton is just struggling to find that guy. And Calgary, which usually churns these guys out, is struggling with Jake Maier. So yeah, it's concerning, and hopefully some of these young guys that are getting a chance to play this year will blossom.
Yeah, I don't think many of the young guys will blossom this year. There are not many promising QBs. If you look at the power rankings, it's the teams at the top that have QBs and the teams at the bottom, they don't have QBs. Like, I don't think we've seen this bad quarterbacking since like 1987, where like 2 teams had the 4 best quarterbacks in the league. It's crazy. And that's not good for the quality of the game, as we've seen.
No, I'd probably see what Prukop or Brown could do over some of these other guys on a team. All these other guys. Like, yeah, exactly. I could see them doing way better than some of these guys. So, and the Bombers got that quality right there. So if you and Claros something happened, and knock on wood, I think they might be okay.
I don't know how Dane Evans isn't starting in the CFL already compared to the quarterbacks that are starting. It's ridiculous. Someone's going to make a move. Yeah, someone's got to make a move. The Bombers made a move to get Caleros. Make a move to get a good quarterback.
And even in the offseason, why didn't anyone make that move? Especially the teams that had questions at QB. Why wouldn't you bring Dane Evans to be in that backup position at least? So it's just hopefully they can get it figured out.
I mentioned 1987. Roy Duell was a quarterback in BC. He was past his prime. Tom Porras was in Hamilton. Rick Warman was a quarterback in Calgary. Great OC, not a very good quarterback. Todd Dillon was in Ottawa. Tom Burgess was here. Danny Barrett and Gilbert Renfro were in Toronto. Damon Allen and Matt Duggan were in Edmonton. Those are your best quarterbacks and 2 best teams.
Those last 2 guys were okay.
And they're on the last 4. Danny Barrett, he's pretty much Hall of Fame. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? In my own opinion. Gilbert Renfro was great. Matt Dunnigan is awesome. Damon Allen is awesome. 4 good QBs. Crazy. 2 teams. And then Edmonton goes and gets Tracy Ham after. Get out of here. Whatever. Thoughts on Winnipegger Brendan Leipsic wanting to be Putin's best friend?
Go for it, man. I mean, Leipsic was basically kicked out of the league in 2020 in the NHL. He's from Winnipeg, but he's been playing in Russia, and he wrote Putin a letter asking him if he can be a Russian citizen. So, I mean, go for it, I guess. I mean, you're not welcome back. You're basically back in the NHL at any point. So the funny thing to me is though that he can be called up for mandatory military service in Russia if he gets that citizenship. So why would you even take that chance? I mean, if there's Putin's opportunity right there to send a Canadian to the front lines if he really wanted to, kind of with the issue going on with Ukraine right now. So I don't understand. I don't get it.
Why would you take that chance?
Exactly.
He's not very bright.
No.
That's why he would. Give me a break. What was I going to say about this clown? It's unfortunate that he's representing Winnipeg. Hey, but if he wants to be a Russian citizen, go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Give me a break.
All the best.
Thoughts on Dubois being his best, true, real self in LA? Come on, man. Are you serious? Are you serious? The only thing stopping him from being his true self or best self or whatever he wants to say is his own mind. Yeah. Like, he was in one of the best organizations to be involved in the community. Like, Mark Chipman, I dare say, compared to any of the other owners, is at level or better at being involved in the community and community involvement. So to say that he didn't have the opportunity to do that and be his true self is a bunch of bullshit. Like, come on. This guy has been hot and cold, mercurial his whole career. What a clown. True self. This is his true self. He's being two-faced and saying a bunch of empty words just to try and impress LA fans. Give me a break.
Yeah, if there's one thing Chipman is good at, is exactly what you said, and he gives the opportunity to players kind of be their own selves and do whatever. And I don't get the comments at all. And it's kind of disappointing in a way that he went from Columbus, couldn't be his true self, did not play his hardest. Same in Winnipeg. He showed potential, but he never got around to playing 100% every single game. And as a fan, it's disappointing to see that and now to hear that. Like, the fans here cheered you on. I mean, we would have, you would have been a fan favorite if you stuck around. And it's fine. You want to leave. But at the same time, these comments just don't make any sense. You're happy to be going where you are. It's where you always wanted to be. Now you can be your own self. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't understand it. And it's just, at some point, it's just like, just go. You're gone. Just go.
He's shown his true self. When things don't go his way, he quits.
No.
Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Just thanks a lot for listening, and don't forget, subscribe, follow, and have a good week.
And enjoy the next week of CFL action, even though the Thursday game is too late. And in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime, in the between time, that's it. Another go Canada, go. The women's team, unfortunately, Desiree Scott can't go because of an injury, but hey, they get the Women's World Cup coming up, so cheer them on hard. Now, Ed Whalen. In the meantime, in the between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.